Hey and welcome, it's Christine Amble, educator, creator and world champion athlete, here with today's topic of the psychology of dieting, contest prep and the secrets to keep you on track, what to expect. So what I wanted to talk about today really is that psychology. I wanted to talk about how to actually reach your goals. So that's kind of like, setting a plan and also sticking to that plan and how to go about that. And then I want to talk about obviously, how to break plateaus, how to keep a positive mindset, because again, the number one reason that people don't make it through the diet is that they tend to kind of start to question themselves, and it is hard to stay positive a lot of the time, particularly on a 12 or 16 or 20 week diet. I also want to talk about when to know when to push and when to know when you're actually overdoing it, because a lot of people too, just through lack of experience, just kind of go at it as hard as possible, and sometimes that's not a good thing, and sometimes you're just you are being a little bit lazy, so you do need to do that. And then I want to talk about cheat days. Are they beneficial? Should you do them? And that's obviously a very contentious issue, and then also how to get back on track if you do fall off. So I think to think about it, even if you're not contest dieting, there's a lot of parallels to be taken, and the processes are exactly the same. And the reason why I like contest dieting obviously is because there's a fixed date that you're working towards. And I think with any weight loss plan, it's really great to have a weight in mind. However, as we talk through, you'll see how that's not always practical. Like, you might have a plan that you want to hit that weight, but so many factors come into it and you don't always get to what you want. So how to reach your goals, obviously the first thing is knowing the date, knowing what it is that you're trying to hit, and what you're trying to achieve. So if it's your very, very first competition or your very first diet, it's really, really difficult to know exactly how far you can go, because until you've pushed your body, until you push your body for a certain amount of time, you don't really know how lean you can get. You don't really know what's good. Everything from where you are at that point in time is obviously an improvement, but it takes a little bit of experience to know the difference between what shape you need to be in, and then what look you're actually going to get on stage. You just kind of want to aim for losing what's in a reasonable amount. And when I say what's a reasonable amount, don't look for more than about half a kilo per week, because any more than that is probably a little bit too much on your system. What to expect, you set your date, you've got your meal plan all sorted out, you're all enthusiastic. If people don't go into that first week of comp dieting enthusiastic, quit now, because your enthusiasm's not going to get more as you go. So you've got to be really excited, and you've got to be pumped up to actually start dieting. If you don't lose 2 kilos in that first week, you probably have underestimated how much you need to drop your calories by, and if you've done more than that, then you've maybe gone a little bit too far. So if you're finding that your weights are dropping significantly, your strength is dropping, or that you're having to rest a really longer between sets, then you probably means your energy is too low, and you maybe do need to look at your diet, what you have created, and maybe you do need to bring those calories up a little bit to allow that strength to come back and allow you to burn. People who've never done a diet before, I would recommend about 12 weeks, because as I said, you're just trying to get a benchmark. You're just trying to learn your body and understand what your body is going to do. You're going to learn where your body loses body fat, because as we know, you can't spot reduce. And I believe it all comes down to genetics, where we lose it from. So a lot of people tend to judge their body off their best body part rather than off their worst. So when you're trying to judge how your prep's going, you really got to focus on your worst. Now, if you're not contest dieting, and you're just dieting in general, then I guess you're looking for just that overall improvement. Again, a lot of people like to see waist size coming down, because that's for health indicators. I think the best thing that I'm saying here is pay attention. Really pay attention to your body. Pay attention to how you're feeling, and pay attention to where the weight loss is coming from, and track and see how your energy is at different times of day. See how your weight's tracking. And this is where the scales, and the difference between being obsessed by the scales and using the scales as a tool is really, really important. So wake up, go to the toilet, weigh yourself. Do it at the same time every day. Do it with literally before you've eaten anything, before you've drunken anything, and that's kind of your true weight. Keep a diary and track what your weight does from day to day, and make comments about why you think it's done certain things. Now, you do need to keep the water flushing through, so that stops your body from holding water, and you do need to eat still a certain amount of sodium, but it also does have a very important role in keeping your muscle full and keeping the hardness in the muscle when you're on stage. So you've got to be really careful that you don't drop it too low. But you also run into a problem called hypernaturia, which is literally where your body just is thirsty, but because the sodium's so low, it doesn't store water, so it literally comes straight through you. And that's very unhealthy. And so when it comes to that situation where your weight hasn't dropped in a week, that's, I guess, where we say, you know, you have a plateau. So here are some of the things that I would do around plateaus. So obviously, you know, calorie reduction is the most obvious one, but it's not a matter of just kind of going, okay, I'm going to like slash a meal or something like that. So what I would do is I would look at my meals, and I would say, okay, I'm going to have to probably push my calories down by about 200. Now, I would look at, say, my 5 meals, and I would go, okay, I'm just going to pull 50 calories out of every meal. And I would actually pull it out of a little bit of, you know, protein and carbs and fats, because I would want to try to keep my ratios all the same. But basically my main things with hitting that plateau is getting on it in time, like not leaving it, not thinking, oh yeah, it's going to happen, like really being right on top of it, and either making a change to my diet or making a change to my cardio. So sometimes it's just a little shock and a little change that you need to do to keep it moving. And that is the main thing, is you want to keep the momentum going, because that is part of also keeping you engaged and keeping you on track and keeping you motivated, is if you see the results coming, and you see that the work is going somewhere. Now, I'm going to take a step back and talk about you know, that week 1, and then say like going in for month 1. The issue, or the topic of fat burners. Do not start the fat burner from the start of your diet, okay? Always wanted to keep like introducing a fat burner as almost like my third thing in breaking a plateau. So also, I would always cycle fat burners. So I didn't want to become reliant on it, because your body does adjust and your body does get used to it. So I would try to run, I might do 10 days on a fat burner, take 10 days off a fat burner, and go as such that I would have it, you know, for the last 10 days up before a competition. Or sometimes I would make it so that I would finish it and just leave that last week, because that you're going into comp prep mode. I mean, you're going into peak week. You kind of want to leave any other external influences out from that. So just in terms of your fat burning, but I just do want to have that little reality check here, that when you are doing a competition diet, you can't hide. You're viewed from 360 degrees, and you're under bright lights. You'll be photographed from every angle, and the whole point of what you're doing is to get up on stage and show it off. So nobody asked you to do the competition. You put it on yourself, so you owe it to yourself to really give it your best. You know, like that was always kind of a mind philosophy that I had, was that I chose to do this, and I can always unchoose to do it. I can always decide not to do it. If you're struggling, like you know the difference often between having a day where things are a little bit hard and a few things go wrong, versus every single day that you wake up, you're almost having to fight yourself to do it. It's really, really important that you have to address like why things are happening, and address if there is still more benefit to doing it, and paying the consequences, because there always will be. Or if sometimes you should just say, okay, you know, now is not the time to do it. The process of competition dieting, or the process of dieting, can be very, very monotonous, and you have to kind of find ways of focusing on why you're doing it, what you're trying to achieve, and stop yourself from doing slightly crazy things like that. And that's where your significant other or a really good friend comes in very, very handy. If you can have somebody who can help you out and be realistic, and kind of say, look, yeah, your body weight may not be changing, but geez, look, now your abs are in, now you've got this coming, you know, now this cut's come in and that's cut's come in, and you're really starting to see differences. And that's, you know, whether you're comp dieting or not, it's having someone who you can trust that can say, yes, we can actually see the changes, or no, your body's really kind of stuck here. So that is important for keeping your sanity, and also having someone to kind of like, you know, get you through those difficult times. It is not easy, but you know, the energy and the focus comes from the fact that you can see the results that you're going to get, and you know, even things like booking your tanning appointment, booking your makeup appointment, you know, choosing your bikini or your posing trunks, and choosing all that kind of stuff, all things that can really keep you motivated, you know, through to the competition. Getting your posing routine, working on your posing routine, these are all little things that happen throughout that really keep it going. So that is why, like, for some things, comp prep has an advantage over other kinds of diets, because you need to find those similar things. Like, if you're just dieting regularly, and say, for example, you've set yourself a 12-week challenge or something like that, I would work along that same principle of, at the end of it, why not book yourself a photo shoot? Why not, you know, buy a special, like, get a dress that you're going to fit into for that? why not do something special to really reward that? When it comes to the competition side of it, you're going to get the stage experience, you're going to have your photographs, you're going to have all of that, which comes together and shows off what you've done. And if that isn't enough to kind of excite you and motivate you, then I would really be addressing if that's what you're there to do. Because to me, that's what it's all about. It's like, showing off what you've done. Winning is secondary, believe it or not, or it should be. It's great, but it really should be that, that achievement of what you've done. There's a difference between having a planned off-diet meal, buffet binge day, and they would go and, Saturday was, eat whatever you want. Now, the problem with that is that for some really big guys, that's okay. Their metabolisms can handle it. But for a lot of us females, think about it like this. If you're in negative calories, say, 300 or 500 every single day of the week, so that's 6 days a week, so you're negative 3,000 calories, which is only about that half a kilo of fat. But if you go and eat unlimited on a Saturday, it's very easy to eat more than 3,000 calories, or even if you're eating 1,500 calories over what you need to eat, that's essentially wasted like 3 or 4 days that you worked really, really hard for that week are just being blown out. So you just want to be really mindful that when you going over by a few hundred calories is okay, but if you're starting to have a cheat day that goes over by a few thousand calories, essentially you may as well not even be dieting. So the only situation that you can be in there is where you're extreme dieting through the week to make up through that on the weekend, and you really don't need to do that. But as I said, there's nothing wrong with what I call it a planned off-diet meal, where you're still mindful of your calories, but you can have something that you absolutely, the thing that you can't live without. And, for some people it may be chocolate, as long as it's, you're still keeping it within reason that you can keep those calories. You can pretty much do whatever you want, as long as you keep it within that calorie range. When it comes to a diet, it's really important to not have to, to take it too low. And that's what I was saying about, leaving yourself somewhere to go, so that you don't have to come down and do really, really crazy things, which can happen if you don't act early enough to get things and keep things on track. But if you do fall off of track on one day, then don't write the day off. Like, really try to just get back on as quickly as possible. And I would even go as far as to saying still eat your scheduled meals. Like, just forget it. Like, well, okay, you did it, so what? But this is what you still got to eat. Look at it like you're training. You have to do these certain exercises, so therefore I have to eat this certain food, and then the next day is a new day, and just wake up and get straight back on your diet. Off-season diets or meal plans are super important, because it just keeps you in that routine, because otherwise it's really easy to fall off track, and it's really easy to underestimate or overestimate what it is that you're supposed to be doing. So if you do find yourself in that kind of a cycle where you're really totally getting off of track, as I said, you've got to come back and you've got to look at why that might be happening, because again, sometimes it's just not meant to be. Actually, one big diet tip that I will give everybody, try not to look like you're stage ready when you're not on stage, because it gives you nowhere to go. I talk about that a lot. You've got to always give yourself, room to move. Do remember too that when you do a comp diet as opposed to somebody who is just dieting to get into some kind of shape, is you are actually going way past the point of what is healthy and normal for your body. So the extreme levels of body fat that we go down to as for competition is beyond what is actually healthy and normal. So do keep that in mind. You are pushing into territory that is a different level, so it is going to be harder, and you don't want to keep your body down there for too long. So that is why it is really important to come back and eat and put the fat back on, and eat normally afterwards. Whereas a person who's coming down to a weight, they're probably going to come down to your off-season weight to be for a healthy weight, and for you that's kind of like your healthy off-season weight, and comp weight is extreme. So you have to be your own best judge of that, and that's why I say people who are starting out, you've got to use that time to learn yourself, learn your body, and learn your limits. If you do your first competition and your weights drop in half, and you lose all your strength, then you guarantee you're going to be losing muscle to that show. And if that's happening, then I would straight away be addressing the diet that I was on, and look at that. Thank you for the questions, thank you for listening, and I hope everyone enjoys the rest of their day, and I will speak to you next week.